this Ramadan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are back on our mid-morning talk show with me, Rashida Khan. It's my last show and it's my last guest, so it's almost like we saved the best for the last. We've got on the line with us now Motshedisi Silindane, or as she's fondly known as MC. So I call her MC. So she is a social anthropologist as well as a consciousness and Reiki practitioner. She has a company called Saffron Conscious. She's going to tell us a little bit about that. But before we get into that, I need to tell you, please, to get in touch with us on X at Salam Media, all one word. Contact us on our WhatsApp line. Your comments and questions are welcome. 061 766 0355. And our studio line is 011 680 0355. And of course, as always, we've live streaming on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Salam Media, all one word, and online streaming on www.salammedia.com. Listen live. Thank you for that. Okay, so just to introduce our guest, MC. MC is a social anthropologist and consciousness Reiki practitioner. Her role, as she defines it, is to bring clarity to business and social situations through scientific and unscientific methods. I love that. I love this idea that there's a holistic approach that, we take from the knowledge and we also take from what is internal within us. So I love that. She says, I believe that companies are only as effective as their people and the systems they create. And MC takes keen interest in organizational development through holistic cultural observation. Her research and insights have enabled many companies to improve their human capital and sales productivity through answering complex questions on humanity. So I think that's already, you can already know where my questions are going to go there. Her research and insights have, I've said that. Okay, she's also been instrumental in assisting product development teams with understanding the needs and motivations of target audiences. So, before I go into any more, I want to just say welcome to our dear friend and guest here today on the Mid-Morning Talk Show, MC Motshedisi Silindane. Welcome and hello.
Hi, Rashida. Thank you for having me on the program. Hi,
Thank
everyone.
you so much. Thank you so much for your time today. It's an absolute pleasure to be talking to you. So I stopped reading your very, very interesting bio because it brought me to this question that I want to start with today. You've said that companies are only as effective as their people. How do you help leaders as a practitioner in your particular field of interest? How do you help leaders shift from seeing staff as resources to complex humans? And how does this boost results, if it does?
Rashida. Okay. So I just want to break it down, and hopefully by breaking it down, then it can bring clarity. So I want to break down on the clients that we work with. So we work with people, whether it's leaders, managers, or individuals who are searching for balance, purpose, and emotional clarity. They may feel overwhelmed, disconnected, or uncertain about the next step. And so what sets us apart as the Corporate Heart Guide is that we bridge the gap between professional success and inner well-being. We create spaces where clients can reflect, heal, and reconnect with themselves, fostering alignment for alignment between their inner world and their outer actions. So if I am aligned within, how do we do that? We go through a process of storytelling. So through story, we grow, we connect, and we learn from others. We also then take people through through a personal values process. So what are personal values? That becomes a compass that helps me to navigate the different terrains of the life challenges that may emerge in our journey. And then we go through a process which we call journey to wholeness. And this really is about getting to connect with ourselves, and understanding why do I react in the way that I react? Why do I do what I do? So when
Yeah.
I understand myself as an
Mm-hmm.
individual, I'm then able to understand beyond myself, understand my colleagues, understand my team members, and understand the environment in which I'm in. And when I see you and understand you from a human perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I'm then able to create programs within the workspace that then help us to achieve the bottom line.
That's incredible. I mean,
Does that make sense?
obviously I've worked in the corporate sector and in different kinds of sectors over the years, and we've almost always had different companies, different motivational, different team leading, team building exercises, team building companies that come through and do all sorts of things with us. And um I don't think I've ever come across something that is so internally reflective, because from what you're saying, there's a lot of internal understanding that takes
Yeah.
place even before you start looking at the broader issues of the company and the team. So I imagine that there's a lot of internal reflection, and you've touched a little bit on the process that you go through, so things like storytelling, etc. um how have you found the response? I'm asking specifically because maybe this is also my kind of bias, that often corporates are very stuck in their ways and they're very, very committed to their kind of thinking. And it must be
Mhm.
quite difficult to get them to break away from that kind of I don't know if it's a barrier or if it's something. And I mean, and then it comes down, I imagine, to things like belief systems. So, how
Mm.
have you found that working in the corporate sector? First of all, the resistance, if there is, and then how do you deal with that?
Mm. Yes, no, it has been quite challenging. So I must also maybe give a bit of background on how I got into this in the work that I'm doing today. During COVID, I came across a quotation by a lady called Monish Shafiq from the London School of Education, where she said, in the past, jobs were about muscles. Now, jobs are about the brain, but in the future, jobs will be about the heart. And
Heart.
so I
Wow.
promptly took on, yes, and so I promptly
Mm-hmm.
took on the title, The Corporate Heart Guide, because we prepare for the future today.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has been challenging because, like what you say, corporate is quite set in their ways.
Mm-hmm.
I even started a podcast called Fluff in the Corporate Space because
Yes.
when I go for my pitch and I talk to people and I'm talking about compassion, kindness, empathy, one of the people I'd gone to pitch with said to me, you talk a lot of fluff because here in the corporate space, we look at results. We need
Mm.
to look at the bottom line. And my
Mm-hmm.
response was, but we need to take care of the humane side of people for
Mm-hmm.
them to be able to meet the bottom line. Because we constantly think it's the brain that needs to be aligned, it's the brain that's going to lead us. But we're
Mm.
not just brain, we are mind, body, spirit. And all those elements that make us human have to be
Yes.
encompassed for our mental well being to begin with, and also to then be able to meet the bottom line. Because how do you get
Yeah.
anybody who's feeling emotionally exhausted, who's feeling disconnected, to really align with the company's values? This is why knowing your personal values is also important because it's the
Mm.
driving engine behind your purpose to understanding why is it that I'm working within this company for
Mm.
us to then be sustained in doing the work that we're doing, but also at the end of the day, meeting the bottom line because that's what it boils down to. But
That's
we
what it
need to
boils
come
down
from
to.
the Yes, but we need to
Yeah.
come from that human perspective of understanding that actually it is the heart. So in the research that I was doing, in doing the podcast that I do, I learned that the heart is actually the very first organ that is formed in the fetus of the child. The
Mm.
heartbeat is the one that then starts for us to know that there is life in the womb. And
Mm.
actually, it's the brain that takes signal, that takes direction from the heart to respond and do whatever it needs to do. Research has also found that the heart actually also has a brain that our brain in the
Mm.
head responds from. So for me, that makes it paramount for us to have that human perspective and understanding that the heartbeat is actually what should be governing how we do things, actually what will preserve our organizations because we are understanding it from a human side as opposed to being driven and having to
Mm.
meet the bottom line.
Yeah. So I mean, you've said a lot of things there, and I'm probably one of those who's, probably one of the converted already, because I've tried over the last few years to be very much in touch with my heart, my soul, my spirit. But like I
Mhm.
say, I imagine with companies it's not so easy. My producer's
Yeah.
telling me we've got to start wrapping up, but I do want to ask you one more
Okay.
question specifically about the corporate sector, because I know you're working there, and I mean, I just take my hat off to you to be able to be bringing this to in the corporate sector. And I do hope that attitudes and are changing, because I think I think the way the world is going, I think each of us needs to get in touch with our hearts and
Yeah.
our minds and our souls. um but I just want to touch quickly on your Reiki, the Reiki aspect, because I also find
Mhm.
that quite fascinating. So Reiki is often seen as esoteric, it's a bit,
Yes.
like, some people would say it's a little bit airy fairy, it's a little bit out there, for and in the corporate sector, when you talk about Reiki, I'm sure you get lots of rolling eyeballs, but again, that might be my bias. So I do want to
Mhm.
ask if that is the case. But how do you so when we see Reiki as esoteric, how do you measure its impact, if that is adopted? How do you measure its impact on team dynamics or productivity in a way that
Mm.
a skeptical CEO might pay attention to or might even respect?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's always so Reiki comes to that. Remember, I said we do storytelling, we do our
Mm-hmm.
personal values, and then there's journey to wholeness. Journey to
Yes.
wholeness is where you get to unpack your own biases, get to unpack and be
Mm-hmm.
aware of your blind spots. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, I did work with a property company where
Mm-hmm.
after the process that we did, I had individuals who then signed up for the Journey to Wholeness process. So because they
Wow.
got to understand themselves and understand why they feel the way they feel, understand why it is that they do what they're doing, the understanding then came from, I mean, many of the things that we do are things that happened between when we were between the ages of 1 to 7. So
Mm.
because I understand why maybe I'm seen as aggressive, why I come across as aggressive,
Mm.
it's probably from a childhood memory where maybe you were a child that was born into a big family. And for
Mm-hmm.
me to be heard, I needed to raise my voice.
Mm.
That
Mm.
raising of the voice could then manifest in what? In aggression, could then manifest in you being seen as, you're too harsh, you're too hard. Um, and now when I understand that, oh, I'm like this because this is actually from a family background. I'm now in a corporate space. I'm leading a team. And because I'm leading a team, I now have to be able to speak in this certain way so that
Mm.
everybody feels connected and included. Then the team then becomes transformed. So one of the feedback that I got from somebody who had signed up, she said, now I understand why I didn't get along with my manager. Now I understand why I didn't then trust my team members because this was a childhood issue that I was now projecting in the environment that I'm in. And because I have that realization, I now have a very different relationship with my manager and with my colleagues. And
Mm.
that has then transformed how I show up, the work that I do, and what I bring to the team. So we may feel it on a team level, but that then invariably
Mm.
translates into the bigger environment and then transforms that space. You also
Yes.
asked who are some of the people that then lean into this type of work. So often it's with somebody. I speak to Rashida. Rashida is already in that space where she sees that heart, soul, alignment all work together. So when I come
Mm,
to you, you're speaking the language that that is already resonating with your heart, and you then see the benefit of how your team and your company can thrive and meet the bottom line. So
mm,
through referrals, I then get to meet more Rashidas because she's then experienced the work that I did for her team and within the organization. But it's still very slow. But I mean, I guess yes, I guess that's what happens with everything that's new
mm.
in the world or new to us.
Mm, mm. Well, yes, you're absolutely right. And I imagine this kind of effort and this kind of investment at these early stages is going to show you results. You are going to see the positive side of it. So I wish you well. I really want you to continue on this path because I wanted to succeed. I want to
Yes,
see a more humane corporate sector. I want to see companies being as concerned about their staff and the environment and society and community as they are about the bottom line. So I
yes,
feel that it's organizations and systems or processes like yourself that you bring that can make this change. So I wish you well, and I will definitely be in conversation with you soon because I still had
yes.
so many questions to ask, and I'm
Okay.
fascinated by this topic, as you can tell. I'm sorry
Yes,
that we have to cut off here, but as you know, my producer is signaling wildly. She wanted me to wrap up 10 minutes ago. But thank you so much for your
understood.
time. Thank you for coming on the show, and I do wish you well and all the best to you in the future.
Thank you for having me, Rashida. Thank you.
Thanks. And that was MC Motshedisi Silindane, our corporate heart guide. And on that note, we're going to have to sign off and say goodbye. The mid morning talk show is now over. And my segment of it for this Ramadan, Alhamdulillah, it has been a beautiful 4 fantastic shows with the most amazing guests that have made me reflect, that have made me consider. I've had to do research on all the amazing topics, and I've learned so much. I'm sitting here and writing furiously on my notes all the time. So thank you to all my guests. Thank you to Salam Media for the opportunity. Thank you to my producer Puti and our Salam Media producer as well, Ponti, my brother Pronti, and to Sister Mariam, Upper Mariam, one of the regular hosts on Salam Media who suggested me initially. And I hope to be back in the future. And if you do, if I am, I will let you know. Please do follow. Please do check me out. As you all know, I am a writer, I am an author. So please check me out on social media. I have my handles called I'm Rashida Khan on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please keep in touch. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. On that note, Jazakallah khair. Wish you all a very, very good last few days of Ramadan. Remember us, remember Salam Media, remember the Ummah, remember all the countries that are suffering. Remember them in your du'as. May Allah bring peace, prosperity, and kindness. Let us become a kinder society and a kinder nation, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum from myself and the rest of the Salam Media team. And from myself personally, I wish you the best over Eid. Eid is my favorite time of the year and I can't wait. Assalamu alaikum. And we'll be taking a short ad break now.